want you to know the outcome of all of these scenes. Put the six blocks up here of the different, these are the different countries that are in riots right now as these things begin to spread, inspired by Egypt. The outcome in each of these, whether it be freedom, extremism, socialism, or communism, the outcome will be dependent on who was the best organized in each country. And they're organizing the students, and the students are using the internet, which brings me to Google. I want to talk to you a little bit about Google. The Google chief executive, Eric Schmidt, has said yesterday that Google is very, very proud of Whale Noam. He is the company executive who admitted himself helped organize the 18 days of protest in Egypt that resulted in the ouster of President Hosni Mubarak. But there is another Google executive that we showed you yesterday that is in the same boat. Some in the media have theorized now that I'm bizarrely inserting Google into the story of the Egyptian revolution. No, Google is bizarrely inserting Google into the story of the Egyptian revolution. I want to point out tonight that I'm really not sure that I want my search engine involved in government overthrows, good or bad. What I want from a search engine is good search results. This is not the issue. I'm not afraid that Google is reading my email or tapping your phone lines or stealing grandma's recipes. That kind of paranoia is reserved for the left during the Bush administration with Microsoft. What I'm starting to look at is Google, and Google as a whole. You know, they said, don't be evil. Well, what does that mean exactly? What are their motivations? Who are they working with? What are they doing on an everyday basis? Where do they give all of their money? I'm just not so sure as I look into Google that I want to use their products any more than I have to. And some of their products, I think I have to. I'm not leading any boycott. I hate boycotts. You do it your time, your money, and your information, what you want. For me personally, I'm not feeling real comfortable about the current direction of Google the more I find out. Why? Well, let me give you a few reasons. First of all, they are working really, really closely with the government. That's okay. They have a close relationship with the NSA. Okay. They work closely with law enforcement. Cool with that. Last year, they signed a $27 million deal with the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. I don't even know what that is. But they've been accused of receiving preferential treatment and receiving $6.5 million contract with the General Services Administration. They are working hard to bring us net neutrality, the kind of net neutrality that we've talked about on this program, that hard left groups like Free Press are advocating for. Eric Schmidt, the former CEO, he resigned 2 weeks ago. He is on the White House Council for Science and Technology, co-chaired by John Holdren. They also have privileged access to NASA airfields. Second point, they're working way too close for my comfort with hardcore leftists. Eric Schmidt is on the board of an organization called the Politics of Trust Network. You might recognize a couple of other names on that board, like Van Jones, and Drummond Pike, the former CEO and founder of the Tides Foundation, a founding board trustee there. In 2010, the Google Inc. charitable giving fund of the Tides Foundation gave over $145 million directly to nonprofits and academic institutions. Google has made donations in the seven-figure range to MoveOn.org. Oh, George Soros is doing that too. One of the farthest left political action groups in America. They also gave money to the Trickle Up program, a big recipient of cash from the Tides Foundation and George Soros's Open Society Institute. And speaking of George Soros, here's CEO Eric Schmidt saying, well, this about George Soros.
My view of Mr. Soros is that he is one of the most important people in the world today in terms of the impact that he's had.
Oh, I can't say I disagree there, but there's so much more. Next. Something in the revolutions has come to light, And I've told you for a couple of years that my gut has said something is wrong with Google. And I want to tell you why I'm wary of Google and what is coming to light. And I want you to understand, I don't think that they're rounding anybody up. I just want to point out a few things. I'm on my third reason why you should look into Google. The third one is they're not working hard enough on your privacy. Privacy advocates attack Google Buzz for gigantic leaks in information that users thought was private information. They had the Y Spy incident. You remember this? This is where Google Street View cars downloaded emails, passwords, and other information from private, unsecured wireless networks all around America. Google apologized, but the FCC is believed to be investigating. But I don't think they're probably investigating too hard with all of the connections to the White House. In an interview with the Wall Street Journal, Schmidt, the former CEO who just stepped down 2 weeks ago, talked about where he sees the future of Google. Listen carefully. Quote, "We know roughly who you are, roughly what you care about, roughly who your friends are. Google also knows to within a foot of where you are." Mr. Schmidt leaves it to the listener to imagine the possibilities. If you need milk and there's a place to get milk nearby, Google will remind you to get it. It will tell you there's a store ahead that has a collection of horse racing posters, that a 19th century murder you've been reading about took place on the next block. And that's the other part of this. Sometimes the way Schmidt and Google as a whole think, quite honestly, when you start looking into their stances, is creepy. Quote, "I don't believe society understands what happens when everything is available, knowable, and recorded by everyone all the time." He says, and he predicts, I saw this video and I think he was serious, that every young person will one day be entitled to automatically change his or her name on reaching adulthood in order to disown youthful hijinks stored on their friends' social media sites. And let's not forget this super classic. Quote, "We don't need you to type it all because we know where you are with your permission. We know where you've been with your permission. We can know more or less what you're thinking about." End quote. Again, all of this may not matter to you. Google is one of the most competent companies on earth. Their products work really well, and it is almost impossible to avoid them this side of unplugging your computer. We'll have tips on the radio show and at glennbeck.com tomorrow if you decide to try to avoid companies like Google or other companies like them, and make sure your privacy is protected as much as possible. All I have to say on this is there is a strange thing going on with this search engine and our government, and we all have to choose who we do business with. For years, the left whined about Microsoft. They were too big, they were too powerful, they couldn't be trusted, they had to be stopped. They switched from Internet Explorer to Firefox, and they always got positive press coverage in the media, standing up against a big evil company. If you begin to have questions on Google, will the press treat you as that or a conspiracy theorist? I encourage you to do your own homework on Google. I don't recommend you Google it, but do your own homework. And everyone else that we talk about on this program, don't take my word for it. Look into it yourself, because you must make your own decision. But when it comes to a very hard left-leaning company who are in tight with very hard left organizations and our government, and they have been loose with privacy, my mind has been pretty much made up now. I think so. It's up to you. Including me. I showed you this clip earlier. I want you to see it again.
And the arrival of Imam al-Mahdi, and grant him good health and victory, and make us his followers and those who attest to his rightfulness.
Okay. He has said this for a while. Let me hasten the return of the promised one. Tomorrow, I'm going to explain in detail what the return of the 12th Imam means to Ahmadinejad. There is a sect of 12ers, and he is one, and so is he. that believe the Mahdi, or the 12th Imam, will soon return. Now, they're different than most Muslims that believe in the 12th Imam because they believe they can hasten that return. Not a good idea to hasten the return of the chosen one because the world has to be in chaos, carnage, and genocide. The world must be washed in blood before the 12th Imam comes. So the Messiah comes and brings peace, but their Messiah makes sure that every knee shall bow and every tongue that is left in a mouth will profess that the Mahdi is the one. The 12ers are so dangerous that at one point this man banned them. On tomorrow's program, we will expose the 12th Imam and what and why you need to know what these two believe. Chaos. Before you do that, there's one more thing I have to add. On glennbeck.com tonight, I want you to go and do some homework before tomorrow's show. glennbeck.com, look up the rumors of war. You'll find it on the front page, the rumors of war. Make sure you go through all of that before tomorrow's show if you can. And then join us for a show you won't believe tomorrow night. All right, on tomorrow's program, I told you the 12th Imam. On Friday, we are going to spend an hour detailing the life of one of the most horrific progressives that has ever lived. And then I will be joined by one of the bravest women I have ever met. That is on Friday, and don't miss tomorrow. From New York, good night, America.